Welcome to Harvesting Maine. This is episode 6, season 2, and it's Ag Week. So we have some special guests joining us who are going to tell us about their connection to Maine farms, food, and agriculture. Thanks for tuning in. Let's introduce our guests. Hi there. So, Olivia, let's start with you. Please tell us about yourself and where you're joining us from today.
Okay, I am a potato farmer in northern Maine, joining you from Blaine in Aroostook County. What else would you like to know?
We're going to get into all of that for
Okay.
sure. We want to know everything, Olivia.
Right.
I'm sure we'll get to it. Mark, go ahead and introduce yourself and your business.
I'm calling from Standish, Maine, and we grow a little vegetables, but mostly what we do is grow lactobacillus because we're fermenters.
Excellent. So fermenters, fermented products, another delicious item grown from Maine goods. Amber, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi there. We like fermented things here in Skowhegan, mostly in the form of bread, but hi, Anne, Olivia, Mark. I'm calling in from Skowhegan, Maine. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Maine Grains, a grist mill that processes locally grown organic and heritage grains purchased from the Northeast. And we also have a little cafe and dry goods shop out of our building, which is a repurposed county jailhouse in the center of Skowhegan.
Excellent. Wow. Yeah. So we've done a few episodes of Harvesting Maine before, and one of the things that has really been exciting for me to learn and all of our listeners is kind of the connection, really. We're talking about Maine farms and agriculture, and tonight we have a really great breadth of what I would consider value-added production, or maybe we call these businesses makers or processors or manufacturing, but there's also a connection to ingredients that are sourced locally. So Olivia, if you would tell us a little bit more about your role at Fox Family Chips and Double G Farms, and tell us a little bit more about how that's connected to Maine agriculture.
Sure. So here at Double G Farms, we grow about 900 acres of potatoes, and some of the potatoes we grow, they are for Fox Family Chips, and we grow russet Burbanks for Fox Chips. And it's been probably 10 to 15 years ago, my dad partnered with Rhett Fox and started to grow, we started growing potatoes for Rhett. And it started out just kind of small, and now it's grown into a really good partnership. And we're fortunate that we're able to supply the potatoes for the chip company.
So you're really like field to store, essentially, in all
right.
of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. And do you grow other varieties of potatoes on the farm too, or you're just exclusively focusing on you call it the Burbank russet for those chips?
Russet Burbank. So we also grow dark red Norlands, caribou russets, and a new variety called King russets.
Excellent. Wow. So that's exciting. I have to admit, I am a fan of those chips. I have enjoyed them many times whenever we go around, and it's fun to hear consumers tell us about how much they love all the Maine products, and excited to know that we have a Maine connection there. Mark, tell us a little bit more about the lactobacillus that you're growing, but what is the purpose of the lactobacillus and how that connects to Maine farm and food ingredients?
Well, how long do you have? I got into this many, many years ago because in a prior incarnation, I was a printer in a black and white darkroom. And over time, I got overexposed to chemistry that wasn't very efficacious for me. Simultaneously, I had a wonderful affiliation with places that played live jazz music, and the combination wasn't good for me. So I went to an anthroposophic doctor, and he recommended I get on fermented foods, and I couldn't find any. And so we started making it. My wife bought me a crock, and back in 2002, we were making it, and it caught on. And we got our professional license from the state in 2012, and we've been at farmers markets ever since. And Portland and Bath and Brunswick, especially in Crystal Springs markets. So we're being very busy. Yes, we make fermented foods out of just about all the vegetables. They all do. We grow some of our cabbage, storage number 4, and Murdoch, but not nearly enough. And so we're supplied by lots of farmers that we work with. We're a Six River Farm, Pine Root Farm, Little Ridge Farm, especially Crystal Springs Farm, Harvest Tide Farm, Snell Farm, Watley's, Gorenson's, Olivia's Garden. So I think we help extend the farmers' growing season and let their product continue. Also, once it's been fermented, it's got an incredibly long shelf life. So you've got that freshness. I mean, people should eat fresh vegetables, cooked vegetables, and fermented vegetables, and you can't have too many of them. It's a good combination.
Yeah, it sounds
Oh,
delicious.
by the way, I got my health back.
Congratulations, and we're glad that it's back so you can join us on our call today. So I've had those products too, delicious, definitely very popular at local restaurants too, just understanding the connection to fermented foods, and they're always a great salad topper, in my opinion, but there's lots of ways that you can use them too. Amber, you mentioned that you also have a role in fermented products and Maine farm ingredients, farm grown ingredients. Tell us more about that.
Sure. Well, I feel so lucky to be talking here with fermented foods and potato chips. I mean, these things go really great together. And I have to say that I first learned how to make sauerkraut when I got married because my husband grew up on sauerkraut. And so it's been quite an education over the last 20 years for me on lactobacillus and all the benefits that it provides. But I'm in the world of grain and bread. And so fermentation is really important in the style of bread that works so wonderfully with our stone milled flours from Maine Grains. We are stone milling grains and freshly milling them to order for our wholesale distributor and retail customers. And what that offers is the freshly milled oils and flavors that are all inherent in the grain that are lively and work really well in natural fermentation baking. So a lot of the customers that are working with our flours are fermenting sourdough breads and making these beautiful long ferment doughs. And, some people are new to sourdough and often ask, does sourdough mean that the breads are sour? And Mark, maybe you get that question a lot too, but sourdough doesn't necessarily mean very sour tasting, but rather implies the style of long natural fermentation with no addition of instant yeast. So in any event, our mill makes stone milled flour. We sell rolled oats, cornmeal, buckwheat flour. We sell whole grains and pearled grains to chefs for cooking. So we're really pleased to be able to support Maine farms and process these products into really the most delicious examples of what Maine has to offer and sell them throughout the Northeast. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And I think you also mentioned that you've got a grist mill, which has been almost like upcycled, community, structure that has been upcycled, if you will. And you have the bakery there as well, and a little restaurant too. So
Yeah.
kind of one of the things that we are curious about, or that we hear from people about, is like, what does it take? And all three of you, I'm sure, have experience on this, but what does it take to kind of start with this idea of, I want to bring this ingredient into production and then create it so that somebody can buy it at a market, at my bakery, or at a grocery store or a co-op, or the restaurant. What has that journey been like for Maine Grains?
Well, we are celebrating our 10th anniversary year this year. So it's kind of remarkable to look back on all that we've done in 10 years. It seems so long ago that business plan was first coming together. And I'm sure my colleagues on this call can attest that it's very hard work, number one, but that it's thrilling work and rewarding work to be working so closely with Maine farmers and knowing that the products that we can create out of Maine foods are not only delicious, but really support an agricultural way of life here in Maine, which is one of our greatest assets. So we built a business plan back in oh gosh, it started in 2007 and 8. We bought the former Somerset County Jail building because it was being vacated. For one, it was available, but also it's 4 stories tall, and so in milling, that's advantageous to have multiple stories because you can send grain to the very top of the facility and gravity feed through the cleaning machines on the way down. And that multi-story buildings are expensive to build from scratch. This old jail building didn't have a repurposing plan at the time that we built our business plan. It is sturdy and overbuilt. So, in some cases, the walls are 3 foot thick and they all have steel rebar for reinforcement in the walls. And so, really, it was a heavy, sturdy building for housing all this equipment. It contains the noise we make on the inside so that you don't hear it on the outside of the building. And because it was a jail, it had a commercial kitchen in place. And so that has allowed us to repurpose that area into a cafe that features the grains on the menu and features a beautiful La Peñol wood-fired oven made right here in Skowhegan in wood-fired pizzas. We had excess space that we could lease to other community entrepreneurs, including a knit shop and a volunteer-run radio station. So all of the things that have been made possible by the repurposing of this building really have exceeded my wildest dreams in terms of the impact and vibrancy that we could create for Skowhegan. So we proudly sell Fox Family chips alongside our sandwiches at the cafe. And I just have to put a plug in for Front and Main Restaurant, one of Waterville's newest restaurants, which does a beautiful job of featuring your chips as a crumble on top of their crab meat and chorizo mac and cheese.
Ooh,
If you
sounds
haven't had
delicious.
it, I highly recommend a trip to Waterville for that dish.
Nice. Mark, when we heard about your inspiration for getting to this, but tell us a little bit more about like the daily nitty gritty. I don't want to say the grind because, but there's a lot to it, right? And so walk us through that process of, how long do you have to think about, oh, I want to prepare for my products for market, and then I need to lay out my fermentation progress. Like, walk us through that
honestly,
and how that came to be.
We're running as fast as we can just to stand still. It's just the business is growing and booming, and I can hardly keep up. We're maxed out. We live in a 1780 house, and we retrofitted the summer kitchen downstairs. Put in commercial sinks and racks, and underneath the chimney there's a beautiful arch space. I wish I had a photo of it, where we have stacks of crocks, and we've got 100 of them going, and it's quite a sound when they're all bubbling at once. How we got to where we were in making the product, we were just serendipity. We tried it and then made adjustments. Everybody's got a recipe, but it's not a science, it's an art, and you have to make adjustments. Everybody's water is different, everybody's salt is different, everybody's vegetables is different, a little of this, a little of that, and then you fine tune it. And I think we've got a lot of feedback saying that we've been pretty successful at that.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Olivia, you have a little bit of a different take probably on, we talked about it coming from field to grocery store or restaurant as well. Walk us through kind of the steps in the process, like a day in your life or years in the business, to get that potato chip made.
Well, for me, it's kind of been cool. Like I said, my dad, he's partners with Rhett Fox. Rhett's the original owner. And so I've kind of when I was in high school, I kind of worked up to the chip plant. And back then I say back then, I don't want to age myself, but it was like about 10 years ago. We were frying every other weekend and making, 100 to 140 cases of chips a day. And now they're frying 5 days a week, making 200 to 250 cases a day. So for me, it's been really cool to kind of have that aspect of it, that I, got to work there in high school, and we were at that point. And now I'm here today on our farm's off season. I work in the office for the chip company. just doing bookwork, things like that. And then I do get to go up there occasionally and help out. So it is cool for me to see, us come from that point and then to be where we are today. Rhett, he's put in a lot of work to get us to where we are. So that's kind of been my viewpoint, I guess, on that.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit more about the Russet Burbank and how your family's farm basically kind of prioritizes that, because as we've reiterated many times and heard farmers say before, it's not a spontaneous activity. The chips don't just appear,
Right.
and the potatoes don't either. So what's that look like? How far out in advance are you planning so that you can supply the potatoes needed to make the chips?
Well, right now we're planning for our upcoming season. Obviously, we're going to be planting maybe in about a month, the end of April, beginning of May. So we kind of look at what we have for acres, figure out, okay, we need X amount of seed to make sure we have what we produce every year for Fox chips. And so we go about it that way, and we. This past season, we had such a great growing season. I know a lot across the state in every agriculture field, everyone had a great growing season. So we were fortunate to have a bountiful amount of potatoes, and that helped us out to, we were able to keep potatoes all winter for the chip company. And we just put up a load the other day for them. So it's been nice that way.
So you're talking about potatoes, and just, most of us could assume this, but you're talking about potatoes that are in storage, but you planned those,
Yes.
like almost 2 years ago at this point, right? So the storage comes into that kind of planning and logistical standpoint. Tell us more about that.
Right. So we are fortunate enough. We have a potato house that we we have a winter contract with a few other companies in the area. And so as we're, fulfilling those contracts, we're able to take out of storage the potatoes that we need for the chip company. And, we can put those off to the side, and that way we can take them up as needed, which has been very frequent. We've been had a very busy winter. Usually our winter is kind of our downtime, because the summer is busy with, the tourists and coastal areas, things like that. But it seems we don't really have a slow season anymore, which is a good thing. It's nice. So we've been fortunate enough, like you said, we take potatoes all winter, and that way we can work them into going up to the chip company as well.
Yeah. And then kind of a final question before I move on to some other ones for all of you. Why this type of potato? Like, you grow several ones. Is there a reason for the preference? Is it you don't have to give away any secrets. Trade secrets.
No, it's something that Rhett, when he first started, I think he tried a few different varieties, and this one seemed to be the one that he liked. He likes the russet. Seems to kind of give a darker look to it than some of the other potatoes. Like the chip stock and things like that. And he liked that. And he liked the crunch. They seem to be like just fried, crispier. I guess, I don't know if that's the right word, but they just seem to have they had a different flavor. And I feel like they taste more of like a potato than a chip stock variety does. So that's kind of what Rhett was really going for when he, was trying to figure out what he wanted to do. He just wanted it to really taste like a Maine potato. And that's kind of why he settled with the russet, I think.
Yeah, excellent. So now I have a question that kind of leads us into, this whole selection, and I'd love for Mark and Amber to talk about this too. Mark, you mentioned a whole list of farms that you're working with, and certainly you're culturing a really key ingredient too. What are you looking for when you're selecting the vegetables for the fermented products? Is there a particular sturdiness or flavor profile? How does that work?
I like vegetables that store well. You can keep them in the walk-in for a while. I like storage cabbage. That's very dense. It has a nice crunch to it, and when it comes out right, it actually squeaks when you chew it. It's very pleasant. I'm looking for large beets. We find them. at like Six River, and we got the best carrots, I think, coming from Crystal Springs. I picked up 200 pounds this week and 200 pounds last week, and I think we're about at the end of that crop. All of a sudden somebody said, "Hey, can you use some watermelon radishes?" And I said, "Are you kidding? I can never find them." And all of a sudden they're just appearing. Celeriac, is like, yes, bring it. They all work, But my biggest production right now is kimchi. That is the highest demand, and we're getting some fantastic Napa cabbage from Harvest Tide. It's dense, it's sweet, it's beautiful, and it has a nice crunch. Yeah.
Do you have to put in like an order, like you're going, kind of fast forward all at once, but do you have to put in an order? How does that work? Like with the farm connection, if you're like, I know I want to sell this much kimchi or this much of the radish, how are you prioritizing that or working with the
Well,
farmers?
ideally, we'd have a big enough stock so that we'd always have something to fall back on. But as usual, we're playing catch up all the time. Generally, stores give us like 2 weeks notice, and I've got to scramble to make sure I can get to them in 2 weeks.
Yeah, so
And we've been able to keep it, but it's a bit harrying.
Yeah.
Also, one of the big difficulties is finding what we're doing the distribution. I mean, I love getting paid to drive all over Maine and all the back roads. It's a great scene. However, I probably could make more money if I stayed home and made kraut. We had a couple of people that were distributing for a while, but they couldn't maintain it. And other people are just too pricey. One of the things I was looking into a couple of years ago was when the Fork Food Lab opened in Portland, and I was hoping that they could manage to coordinate a distribution system for everybody that was involved there, but that hasn't manifested yet. It's a dream we have. I think it would be nice to have it here in Maine. Additionally, instead of getting vegetables from out of state, from suppliers from New York or Boston, which sometimes we have to fall back on, but not generally. I'd much prefer if we could manage to stockpile here in storage everything we need, and we could source and supply ourselves.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would agree with that, and certainly, Olivia, you mentioned that that's a really great example. And Amber, you also have experience with kind of the sourcing side of things and the distribution side. What has that been like in selecting the products? Because it all starts out with a raw ingredient, if you will. It's not, the milling process is not, you're not just eating whatever came out of the ground yesterday.
Right. Well, just listening to Mark and Olivia too, I'm impressed at how, interconnected our agricultural systems are. And so, we work very closely with potato growers. In fact, grains are possible in part because of the rotations that potato growers carry on their farm. So it's healthy for the soil to rotate crops and to replenish nutrients into the soil. When one crop takes them out, another crop can put them back in. So grains actually rotate really well with potatoes and other legume crops like clover and yellow peas and dry beans and things like that. So a lot of our suppliers are potato growers up in the county. But it's interesting, we find in grains that the geography of Maine is quite different between the farm sizes, and the terrain in central Maine is quite different from what we find with our growers in Aroostook County. In central Maine, a large farm might be 300 acres and is a little more hilly and rocky and maybe tree bound, whereas some of the farm sizes up in the county are larger, more expansive with rolling hills. So we make strategic decisions with the farmers that we're working with around what is best suited for those different farms and farm sizes, both agronomically, but also economically. So in our business, we rely on farmers that will grow very steady, reliable wheat varieties, for example, spring wheat varieties that are disease resistant, have good protein, resist, fusarium and diseases like that, and just really are good, steady bread performers. Most of that wheat is grown up in the county for us, as our organic oats. Down in central Maine, when we're working with smaller farmers, we might task them with growing some of the heritage varieties that we move in much lower volume, but that fetch a higher price. And that really makes the economic picture for that farm work. In grains, you have kind of a tiered market. The highest and best value is going to come from selling grains to our seed suppliers in Maine, like Fedco or Johnny's. Then that same grade seed that has high germination can be sold to our malt houses. We've got 2 malt houses in Maine now, Blue Ox Malt House and Buck Farms Malt House, and they need top quality grain that will sprout and germinate for malting for grains that go to the beer industry. And then below malting and seed would be food, and then below food would be feed. And then, believe it or not, we even have businesses in Maine that are using compost grade byproducts to make potting soil mixes and things like that. So we work closely with an organic soil maker on the coast who uses our oat hulls as a byproduct for lightening up soil mixes and displacing his need for vermiculite in potting soil. So there's kind of a tiered way that we look at what we're going to ask a grower to grow for us. And what kind of value they need from that crop. One of the things that we're still building in Maine, and we've spent the last decade working on it, we'll spend the next decade continuing to work on it, is making sure that farms have on-farm infrastructure that helps them differentiate and sell into the highest and best market that's possible for them. That requires grain dryers and basic cleaners and storage bins on farm to be able to separate, clean, and hold grain at the highest value. Right now in the state of Maine, there's a lot of competition for acreage with potatoes. It just seems like which is great. There's a hot market for potatoes right now, which is wonderful for Maine farmers. And we need to keep potato farmers continuously interested in rotating with grains and keeping grains in that rotation so that all of us can thrive. So that's the interesting challenge and the sort of the web of interconnectedness that keeps us all going. Olivia, as you were talking about chips and varieties, I was just thinking back to I was fortunate enough to be able to go on the trade mission to Iceland many years ago, and there was a potato farmer that went along with us, and it was interesting to listen to what the demand for potatoes is out in the world, and whether you make a strategic decision to make French fries or make potato chips. And I'm sure you could speak to this, but the demand was for these long finger-like French fries that would fill up the plate and make your plate look full without putting too many French fries on the plate. And so, a lot of the buyers over in Iceland were all asking this farmer, are your potatoes really long and big?
Yeah.
And he was having to describe how, Maine varieties tend to be a little shorter. And so I'm sure that plays into the processing decisions that you make for what accentuates a Maine variety.
Yeah. Go speak to that, Olivia. You put the farmer and the producer hat on. Tell us more about kind of that decision point and those challenges.
Yeah, it is challenging. And, you always hope to get the perfect potato, like you said, that's going to be the perfect size. And, that's what we try for. It's not every potato that comes out of the ground is going to be that way. So, going into to actually making the chips, it's hard to have, the big potatoes because we put them through a slicer and a peeler, and those big potatoes, sometimes they don't cut right, or they don't go through the right way. So for us, kind of like the perfect potato is a smaller potato, like you said, that is the Maine potato. I mean, we are fortunate enough that we do sometimes get, the bigger ones that are great for fries, for the curly fries and things like that. But for the chips, the smaller ones are the better potatoes.
What about the baking potatoes? What's the consumer preference or the customer preference? And maybe you can speak to this on the retail side. So if I'm shopping in the grocery store, what do they typically want for a baked potato? What's a hit there now?
Like a baked potato. The russet's a good baked potato. Really, they call it a baker, which is just kind of like the perfect size, almost like, maybe like the size of the palm of your hand. It kind of fits in there just right. That's as far as that goes. But as far as the fries, we my dad has a small turkey fryer. We like to make homemade fries all the time. That's our specialty for us for, our birthday. We're always like, oh, we want homemade fries for our birthday. So so the longer potatoes are better for that. You get the longer fries. Like you say, they fill your plate, and that's the goal. So for that, I think the longer potatoes definitely are better.
Yeah. Mark, do you have any kind of what would be your insight, I would say, on consumer preferences? You talked about the kimchi, but like
May I hold forth a little bit more on that?
Yeah.
One of the all the vegetables I can get grown in Maine, but one of the key ingredients to kimchi, believe it or not, is fish sauce. Have you heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Maine is famous for fishing. We've got the Gulf of Maine. We had the codfish fishery. But I've got to get my fish sauce from absolutely on the other side of the globe. Most of it is made like that we like, that sells the best, is in Vietnam. Is there somebody, please, out there, a fisherman who could like take it to task, like take all the dogfish sharks, make them into fish sauce, and bring the codfish back? I mean, that's my dream.
That's your
Didn't
dream.
I hear that some entrepreneur in Maine is trying to use the rock crab, the invasive rock crab species, to make a fish sauce in Maine?
Wouldn't it be great to remedy the sea and make something tasty at the same time?
Right. Yeah. We gotta eat. Right? So yeah, that's interesting. Tell us, for our listeners who are not as familiar with kind of how that is made, tell us a little bit more about why it's so important for the kimchi flavoring, and tell us more about fish sauce. Yeah.
Well, actually, it's been around since the Romans. I think was it Michael Palin writes about it, and I think there's some photographs of some old fish sauce mills in Spain. It's essentially you take the entire fish, organs and all, and let it sit in the sun with a heck of a lot of salt, and that's all it takes. It's as simple as that. Except maybe you have to make sure that the temperature is within a certain range. I'm curious, but I don't know how to make it.
Yeah.
However, it's essential for the flavor. It has that umami mid-range, which you can't exactly say what it is, but it's like bacon. It just awakens all the others and makes it rich and savory. It's wonderful stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point about kind of what we call the secret ingredients. Do you have any other things that you think are like really key to making your product stand out to your customers, Mark?
Well, the level of salt that's involved, and of course the pepper powder that's used, they make a big difference. They say they're all alike, but they're not. I've got a big account at Sun Grocery in Portland. Thank you very much, and they've been very kind and helpful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mark, we've enjoyed supporting Goen Fermented Foods for their miso and sauces. We've tried to incorporate them in our menu at the Miller's Table alongside some of our grain salads because they offer that kind of umami rich flavor that you're describing.
Nicholas and Mika, wonderful, wonderful stuff. We've got a jar of the miso in their fridge all the time, and they used to be and they may still be at the Crystal Springs Market and also at the Fort Andros Market. And there's one up in the China Lakes that they attend that I forgot the name of.
Yeah,
nice. A good connection.
Yeah.
Mark, we've been so excited with bread. I'd be curious, are you finding medical research should be on your side these days for moving fermented products? I think I remember hearing that the countries that eat kimchi every day have the lowest rates of flu and whatnot. Like, how is medical research helping you these days in the world of fermentation?
Well, there's a lot of assertions saying that it definitely helps gut health. And I do have customers that come to me and say, thank me, because they've got Crohn's disease, and this is the only thing that helps them. I'm not a doctor. I don't think I'm really qualified to testify much in that, but I'm just reporting what I've heard.
In the world of sourdough bread and natural fermentation, we've been excited to see some new studies coming out in support of sourdough breads being beneficial for people with diabetes, because those sourdough cultures are pre-digesting some of the sugars in the grain so that your body doesn't end up doing the digestion of those sugars. So it actually changes the nutritional composition of the bread altogether by using natural fermentation.
Yeah, there's so much kind of information that goes into the recipe making and the decision making, certainly on the production side of it, but on the, um, I guess, the customer side, do you have any favorite recipes, Amber, that Main Grains is sharing with folks about how to use these products?
Oh gosh. I love to cook. I like to bake. I don't consider myself an exceptional bread baker. I really appreciate how difficult that is and adore people who do that really well. I do bake in our cafe every Saturday morning in the 3:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. shift. And I do the pastries by and large. So we make, for example, a blueberry cornmeal tart with our Liberation Farms cornmeal that we buy from the Somali Bantu community in Auburn. We make hand pies. We make pound cakes, things like that. So that's fun. But I would say I also have a lot of fun with our grains just at home in the kitchen for dinner and various things. But for listeners that are interested in how to showcase Maine grains, I would refer you to our recipe page on our website, which we've been growing and building over the years and is really quite a collection now of some of our favorite things to do with our grains. And we hope to continue adding to it. So if listeners have a favorite recipe that they want to send in, we'll credit you. We're happy to put it up, just take pictures of what you're making and contact us, and we'd love to share it.
Yeah, I agree. I would say the same sentiment for Real Maine. We always love hearing about the different ways that you can combine ingredients and, whether that ingredient comes directly from the farm and you find it at a grocery store or a market or a farm stand, or if it's other ingredients too, kind of something that has been processed. And, I'm very excited to learn about this kind of this new casserole topper that sounds like would be a great addition with these potato chips. It's probably not the intended use of the potato chip, but do you have any ideas or favorite recipes, whether it's the chips or just any type of Maine potato, Olivia, that you would like to share?
Yeah, well, actually, Rhett Fox, he came up with, he calls it the Aroostook County nachos. And so you take the Fox plain chips and then put cheese, bacon, whatever kind of nacho toppings that you would like, heat it up in the microwave, and then there you go. It's actually very good. We have tried it, and I will say that they're very good.
I think we'll have to make a recipe of the Aroostook County nachos.
Yes.
That would probably be a hit for people. Mark, what about you? Any favorite recipes, for home cooks or people who are just getting started?
It's very simple. I mean, all of them. I've got a whole rainbow of colors, and you just mix and match and find the one that you like the best taste of. But if I may make a suggestion, one of my favorites is I've got a fermented winter squash. It's got turmeric, a little mustard seed, and some onion with it. It's yellow, but it's very rich. And I just have a tablespoon of that with my soft-boiled egg in the morning, and it's a wonderful pairing. It's a wonderful contrast. The sour and the crunch complement the richness of the egg. Yes,
that sounds delicious. Are you getting the turmeric locally too?
I beg your pardon?
Are you getting the turmeric locally too?
No, unfortunately.
It happens. Yeah, I was just thinking about how we have some farmers who are growing like ginger and turmeric. And I know that a lot of people who are looking for health benefits have been using turmeric a lot lately. It's got that nice bright color for sure. Yeah. Well, we'll have to definitely put some of these favorite recipe features on the Real Maine website and certainly credit different combinations of flavors and how things kind of get from point A to point B.
If I may hold forth a bit, we've got, you can't have too many vegetables. I think archaeological data shows that our ancestors were eating as many as 50 different a day, just a little spoonful of this, a little spoonful of that. And in my instance, it's just, it adds a little sour, a little salt, a little crunch, and it wakes up all the other flavors.
Yeah, That's a good way to live life, right? A little sour, a little crunch, wake up all the flavors. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. So Olivia, I have a question that's on the kind of farm production side of things. Right now, just for our listeners, in case they're listening to the recorded version of this, which we know folks do, we've just passed the first day of spring in Maine, so you probably have a little bit of snow on the ground in Maine's northernmost county, Aroostook. So tell us like when things are going to be full tilt for this upcoming season and into the harvest. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. Yeah. So usually we start bringing in our seed mid-April, depending on the weather, of course. Too, if we still have snow right now, a couple of feet of snow, so we have lost quite a bit. But unfortunately, we can't see fields or anything like that yet. But we will start getting busy here soon. Last year we were planting April 29th, which is very early for us. Usually it's about sometime in the first week of May. We have seen it obviously later and earlier, but so usually May 1st we're planting. If we have good weather, we can be done in less than 2 weeks. But just obviously depends on the weather. Sometimes we don't get lucky. But really, once that starts, we're busy through the summer. We have a couple of potato houses. Like I said, we got to ship out this summer to McCain's. And so that'll keep us busy, just kind of, spraying, cultivating, hilling up the potatoes. And then our harvest, it seems to get earlier and earlier every year. We usually kind of about the third or fourth week of August, we are starting digging our early varieties. And then that'll last us till if the weather's good, mid-October. So really from the 1st of May to the end of October is when our busy season is.
Yeah, not really a lot of breaks there.
So, a few down weeks here and there, but yeah, we're busy for the most part.
Yeah, and is it like we've talked with other farmers in previous seasons? Is this a typical 9 to 5 job?
No. No, not even really in our slow season is it a 9 to 5 job. We usually in the summer we'll work usually 6 to 4, 6 to 5 on our normal days, and when we're planting, we're in the fields about 5:30, and usually go until about 9 o'clock at night. Sometimes give or take a little bit here and there, but a full day.
Full day, yeah. And then you got to get to the chip plant too, or you're just doing the chip plant mostly in this springtime?
Yeah, springtime, and then on our down weeks in the summer, I go up. We do a lot of online ordering. We just started that probably within the last 4 or 5 years, and it's really taken off. We've actually shipped to all 50 states now. I say all 50, all continental states. And so that was kind of like a big goal for us to be able to do that. And so I do a lot of that. They go up and fulfill the orders for that. We added on, we now have Fox Chips hats that we sell. That's people have always asked, oh, we want a t-shirt or we want a hat or something. So we brought that on, and that's been a big hit. Everyone likes to order their hat and wear it around, show it off to people. And surprisingly, we have a lot of people that will order what they have. Their last name is Fox. And so they think it's cool. They want to order the Fox Chips and have the Fox Chips hat and all that. So that's been neat. So that's kind of what I do a lot of that. And I enjoy doing that. It's fun to see people's orders come in, and they'll always put a note that says, oh, we tried your chips here, and we had to order them once we got back home from being on vacation and things like that. So it's neat to see that side of it too.
Yeah, that is a really special sentiment from customers. Mark, do you have any special sentiments that you hear from customers beyond the health benefits?
I got my mind blown last summer. My daughter and my wife were watching a show. I guess it was Aaron French's Lost Kitchen. And all of a sudden there's a scream coming up from the living room. I go out there, and there in her own kitchen is a jar of Gracie's garden red cabbage with garlic. And it just was like, yes. Wow. What an affirmation,
Yeah, that's really special. And I think it's definitely a point of pride. I can only imagine for you all, but it's really a point of pride for me as a Mainer too. And I'm sure many Mainers out there. seeing that connection to these local businesses and how they support communities, like kind of what you mentioned, Mark, and certainly you, Olivia, being connected for, multi-generational farmer, but a totally different entrepreneurial aspects too, which is pretty exciting. Amber, do you have any, feel good kudos moments from the fans or the customers?
Oh gosh, it's always fun to hear from folks who, believe it or not, are from other countries, and they'll try the bread and the products, and they'll say, "I haven't tasted anything like this since when I was growing up in Norway, or when I was a kid in Ireland. These are the oats from my childhood." So that's always fun. Um, We've gotten some wonderful press because Martha Stewart's favorite breakfast is our cracked oats, and she's given us a lot of accolades online for that. But no, it's wonderful. I think, Mark, to your point, we've been thinking at Maine Grains how fun it would be to just actually take snapshots of our refrigerators and pantries and just see what's in everyone else's pantries, because it's so interesting. Sometimes it's just such a beautiful assortment of local products that are available, that we might do a little social media series on that sometime soon.
Yeah, it's a good week to do it because, we're celebrating Ag Week, and I'm so pleased to have all of you here with us on our season 2 kickoff episode. Before we conclude tonight, I just want to take a moment to ask all of you a question that I like to ask all of my businesses and farmers and everyone. So here's the question, and we'll start with you, Amber. The question is, why does it matter to support local businesses and Maine farms and agriculture?
Great question. And on the tip of my tongue, the best thing I can say is that it's all interconnected. So our choice to support local food and local ag hits all the social issues of our time. It helps with health, it helps with connectedness, it helps with keeping vibrant, sustainable lands, it helps with vibrant economies and vibrant communities. And so I think of it as a cyclical choice that is so important for all of us to make, to build better communities and better lives.
Thanks. And Mark, how about you?
Well, I think food is the best medicine, really, and to help promote health and to give delight simultaneously. What a blessing!
Yeah, makes sense. And Olivia, what would you like to say about that?
I mean, kind of similar to what they've said, and also going with being interconnected. I was going to say this earlier, Amber. Buck Farms that you talked about is literally, I don't know, 100 feet up the road from our chip plant. So it's just a small world. And it's so neat. Like you work with them, then that comes back with us. They always ask, we have a buyer that wants to have our chips shipped out. Can we send some cases to them? And then it turns into a great deal for us. And so everything, it's small world, everything's all interconnected, and it's really great to see that.
I'm cooking the Buck Farms black barley for dinner tonight.
Oh, perfect.
As I'm on this call,
that's awesome.
The Bucks grow an Egyptian black barley for us that is just delicious. So that's dinner tonight.
Is that recipe on the website?
Yes, we do have black barley on the website. I'm just cooking it as a pilaf, like instead of rice. So pretty simple, but I'm gonna incorporate it with a salad of some of the beautiful shoots I got at the Skowhegan Farmers Market this past weekend. It's kind of greens season, so got some beautiful sunflower shoots.
Awesome. Oh, well, thanks so much to all three of you for joining us for our episode 6 of Harvesting Maine. It's been a pleasure to speak with you all. I hope you have a great rest of the 2022 business year. And obviously, we'll be taking all of your tidbits to heart and helping people find more Maine farm ingredients and supporting local businesses wherever they're choosing real Maine products. So thanks again to all three of you.
Thank you.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Harvesting Maine is produced by Real Maine, a promotional program of the Maine Department of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry. Learn more at realmaine.com.